Hey, Central Illinois professionals, do you know where people go to learn more about you? They typically either go to your About Us section of your website or your LinkedIn profile. And guess what the first impression is that they see? That's right, it is your professional headshot. Your headshot is part of your brand. Your brand should proudly show the world how passionate you are about delivering quality products and services to your customers. At Studio 21, you won't get the boring old headshots that everyone else has. When you get photos with Melissa Hardin at Studio 21, your headshots will show off your strength, confidence, and approachability. To book a professional headshot appointment for you and your team, call Melissa at 217-962-0048 or visit www.melissamharden.com. That's MELISSAMHARDEN.com. And let Melissa at Studio 21 help you stand out from the crowd.
Welcome to the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, where business owners, thought leaders, and community champions from across Central Illinois come to share their story. The Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. Anything less would be uncivilized.
What's up, Central Illinois? I'm Derek Hayden. I am your host for the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, powered by Zambu. Zambu is a delicious grapefruit or wildberry vodka-based spirit infused with a Brazilian buzz button. It's smooth, tasty, and leaves you with a signature tingle. Learn more at zambuliquors.com. Zambu, taste the tingle. All right, Central Illinois, today's guest is the owner of Ana Law. Ladies and gents of Central Illinois, please welcome Ana Juneja. How you doing, Ana?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for joining the show. I'm happy to have you on. And I want to make sure I did pronounce your name correctly.
You did, yes.
Okay, good. Awesome. Well, good. Well, Ana, you have some interesting business background, business information to share with our listeners. But before we do that, Ana, I'm going to run you through our speed round questions if you are ready.
Okay.
Okay. So first question, we just got 3 questions. The first 2 are they're not really business related, but the last one is more on a business related question, I guess you'd say. So the first question, Ana, if I were to give you $10 million today, what would you use that, or what would you buy or purchase with that $10 million?
Oh, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but I'd probably just invest in whatever Nancy Pelosi's doing.
Hey, there you go. I like it. I follow some Instagram, stuff of, people saying, well, this is exactly what you're doing. They track what some of the insider trading, I guess you'd say. So I like it. I like it. So, if you had to eat one food for the rest of your life, but that food, no matter if we think it's healthy or not, if that food made you perfectly healthy, doesn't matter if it's actually junk food, what would that food be?
Probably sushi.
Sushi.
Like a spicy tuna roll. Yeah.
I like it. My wife would be very happy with that too. That's kind of our date nights that we try to sushi when we go for date nights. So it's my favorite date night food too. So I like the answer. Okay. Third and final question. This is more business related, Ana. So, what is your favorite social media platform, and how has social media impacted your business?
I want to say my favorite is like Reddit, because it's hilarious, but not for business. I'm not even on it. I just read it. For business, LinkedIn for sure. LinkedIn is where everything is at. Yeah.
Perfect.
As cringy as it is, it's just,
I like it.
It's been like a 10x revenue driver for me. So
awesome. We're gonna have to get into that here before we into the podcast. So I'd like to learn how you use LinkedIn. But at this point, Ana, the microphone's yours. You take it. Tell us exactly, about your business, what you do, how you started it, and anything else that you'd like to share.
Sure. So I actually started my career as a lawyer working at a firm in Chicago, downtown Chicago. And then a little bit post when COVID started, maybe still in the thick of it, in 2021, I decided to start my own law firm. And I'm doing the same thing that I've always done, even at all the other firms I've worked at, but I'm just getting to control my own service deliverables, pricing. I get to pick my own clients. So I'm doing what I've always done. I'm just doing it kind of my own way. And I am very much just a person who I just think I'm unemployable. Probably like lots of people listening to this, many of us are just unemployable. I don't know if it's a personality defect or what it is, but we just have to work for ourselves. I could never really follow directions or instructions that well when I didn't feel like that was the best way to do it. So that's really what drove, me to leave my old jobs every time, even though I had really great relationships with everyone and I, still in touch with everyone, still really good friends with everybody, still have some of the same clients, but just I have a lot more control over what I do now and how I can deliver legal services, and I like it more.
Awesome.
So I serve business owners by getting them their patents and trademarks and copyrights, doing any sort of enforcement. So that's, the main business part of what I do. Of course, we do a lot of business work as well, just setting up businesses, a lot of contract work, but the bulk of our work is patents, trademarks, copyrights. So I guess I'll do a little intro to intellectual property, like the 4 types of intellectual property. I'm sure
Perfect.
there's some people who are listening who haven't heard. So
Yeah.
there's 4 main types of intellectual property: patents, trademarks, copyrights, and trade secrets. So copyrights are going to apply to anything that's a work of art. So this is audio, visual, so books, movies, videos, songs, even software, architecture, all of that is protected via copyright law, anything that's an original work of authorship. Then trademarks protect brands. So this is going to be your name, logo, and slogan. For most business owners, it's their name, logo, and slogan. That's where they have their trademarks. But you can also trademark and protect and own colors, jingles, sounds, smells, things like that too. That's just a little more complicated. So then there are patents, and patents are inventions. So basically, if you've invented some sort of chemical or tool, sometimes apps, software can fall into this as well, but anything that is a new invention or an improvement upon something before, that is protected via patent law. And then there are trade secrets. And trade secrets are really just anything that is of any value that you've kept a secret. So this can be anything from system, SOP, system and processes. I think that's what it stands for. And vendor list, client list, supplier list, anything like that, formulas, anything that is potentially not protectable via patents, but you've taken the correct steps, have the correct documentation and contracts that you've kept it a secret, that's going to be covered as trade secrets. So those are the main types of intellectual property. I would also argue that social media accounts and copy and email lists, those are also IP assets as well. Those are also intellectual property assets in a certain way as well. So those are also valuable things businesses have. But that was a little crash course on IP. And if you have questions, Google it or ask me, because there's a lot of details that I skipped over when I said all of that.
I like it. Ask Ana. Ana will be able to tell you. So, no, that's good. So, I guess to summarize, so Ana, I'm in Central Illinois. I'm slower than a lot of the listeners out there, but
I don't buy that.
well, okay, touche. So, an example of let me see, this would be more of a trademark. So, when you hear "I'm loving it" or "Every kiss begins with K," the brand probably pops in. If I'm allowed to say that on my podcast, is that okay? That's a good question for you. Am I allowed to say that?
You are allowed to say it.
Okay.
You're allowed to refer to other brands.
Yes, but I cannot say that. Like if it was for my podcast, I can't flip it into my own work. Correct?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about a jewelry line versus a podcast, those are actually separate industries.
Okay.
So there's some potential that you could use it. You can have the same trademark as someone else actually. So there's Dove chocolate, Dove soap. It's Dove soap, right? Yeah, Dove chocolate, Dove soap. There's Delta Airlines, Delta faucets. So depending on the situation, you might be able to get a trademark that somebody else has. It's very fact dependent.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. So yeah, those lines that I just used, any listener can probably think of a dozen of them off the top of your head, but that's like a trademark. That's where McDonald's or Kay's Jewelers would go and get a trademark on that slogan. Is
Yep.
that correct? Okay,
Even their
perfect.
name and logo, like McDonald's, the name, the golden arches, and anything
Okay.
like that too. So the name, logo, and slogan are the three big trademarks most businesses have. And then a lot of people also will want to protect their membership names, subscription names, more than just their main name, right? So they have a lot of different bestseller names. Sometimes people like to name their products specific things too. So those are common trademarks as well.
Okay, perfect. So give me kind of a crash course here. Let's use the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast just as our example. If I want to come and I want to start trademarking some, like my business name, my slogan, I don't really know if we have a slogan. Maybe CIBL is the acronym. So we say you've been civilized is kind of I guess you could say, as our slogan. So let's say I want to get all that stuff trademarked, and I come to you, Anna, and I say, hey, what do you need from me? How do we get started? Can you kind of tell us, not necessarily secret sauce wise, but kind of the process of what you have to go through on the legal side?
Oh, yeah. So, well, first of all, with you in particular, this would be a little interesting scenario. So, it's really hard actually to trademark anything with a place name in it
Okay.
that relates to that place. So, you are providing information to Illinois business owners and you are in that state, right? So, that's a little bit harder to trademark.
Okay.
We would just have to be really strategic about it. And
Mm-hmm.
after 5 years of use, you actually can do a few extra declarations and things and affidavits that make it a little bit easier to get that. But there would be we would first audit the name. We would first talk to you about any quote unquote inherent defects. Not people get really upset when I say that word, that their name has a defect in it, but we call it a defect in terms of when we're filing your trademark application, what's going to happen down the line. If there's anything that's going to cost you extra money, it's, we call it a defect.
Okay.
So that's what
Okay.
it is. So typically we'll assess your name with you and then we'll decide on which categories you're going to file in. There's 45 total. So, there's some prep work we do. It's a little bit of back and forth at the beginning. And then we file your trademark. And then, unfortunately, we wait about 10 months to a year before it gets reviewed because the government is not very fast. So we wait and then it gets reviewed and it's either, approved, denied. If it's denied for any reason, we have to it's not officially denied. It means we have to write a response, legal arguments to overcome any issues in the, communication, and then we move it forward. And then there's also a time where your trademark will be published to the public, and any third party, so any of your enemies or competitors, they can file, just a notice of opposition to stop you from getting the trademark and cause you a lot of issues. So that's one, 30-day period we, have to get through. And then after that, you get your registration certificate.
Okay. Awesome. So it sounds like something, at least when I hear that, it sounds like something I probably wouldn't want to try on my own, especially not knowing what in the world or how to start, I guess. So coming to a professional like Anna or Anna Law would probably be a good step for most people. Does that sound right? If a non-legally trained person tries it, they might get themselves into a little bit of trouble.
So there are pretty low success rates when people file themselves, just like, you don't go and file your own divorce case, or, if you're on trial for murder, you don't really go on the stand by yourself. So all legal processes, despite, if you're allowed to go do it by yourself, doesn't really mean that you should. So you're going to get better results when you have somebody, who knows what they're doing, do it for you. And you're just not, it's like, why would I'm not going to file my own taxes. I'm not going to fight my own speeding tickets. It's that kind of thing. So, you should let people do kind of what they're good at. That's kind of my philosophy, but you are allowed to, if you are a US citizen, you are allowed to file your own trademark. If you are not in the US and you're a foreign person filing a US trademark, you do need an attorney. They don't let you file, but as long as you are, American, you are allowed to file your own. Not even American. If you reside in the US, if you're a US based applicant, you're allowed to file your own. But if you don't live in the US, then you have to have an attorney.
Okay, perfect. So do you work with big business, small business, all those, everything in between? What's the ideal or typical business that you work with or individual you work with?
Yeah, we work with everyone. So we work with individuals, we work with solopreneurs, we work with small businesses and corporations as well, influencers, celebrities. So I always like to say service providers, they either do everything for one type of person, or at least for lawyers, or they do one very small thing, but they do it for everybody. So,
Okay.
there's family divorce lawyers, family law lawyers, they do everything for families. So they do divorce, they do child custody, all of the family issues in court. They do all of that. Then you have lawyers that specialize just in doing, things for boats. They do everything for boats. They do the title, they do the accidents, they do all the paperwork, they do all of that. So, I only do one thing. I only do intellectual property. We only do one very small sector of business law, but we do it for everyone who
Yeah.
needs it.
Okay, excellent. So I'm looking at your website and just going through services. You kind of mentioned in your intro, you do, as far as business services go, you also do like LLC formation and all that type of stuff. So tell us a little bit about that process. We have people listening who are considering starting an LLC or forming their own business. A lot of people, that's one of the main questions I get from listeners is, I'm getting ready to start a business. I don't know where to start with legal, tax, insurance. Like, so this could be a good opportunity to like learn where do they start to set up their business.
Yeah. So I'm always I always give the advice that it's always great to just have an LLC, even if you think your business is going to be slow to start, because it's an incredibly cheap and easy way to protect yourself. And it legitimizes what you're doing. For a few $100s, even if you use an attorney, it's not very expensive, even if it's a few extra $100, but not very much. You're protecting yourself a lot when you just set up your LLC. So I always recommend doing that. It's a pretty easy step. Many people do it on their own. I get asked often if people need an attorney to file an LLC. And if you're starting a single member LLC, it's quite easy just to file your own LLC. Illinois in particular lets you do it online. And as long as you have an address, it shouldn't be too big of a deal. Of course, some people just want it done correctly. They want a lawyer to do it. And it's actually not very expensive to have a lawyer do that service. It's a very small service. One thing I do not recommend is I do not recommend services like LegalZoom or anything like that, because they are not a law firm. And all they do is they give you a more aesthetically pleasing form than the Illinois state website does. So you can actually go right to the Illinois state website and fill out your form yourself. Or if you actually need help, then go to an attorney, because they are actually allowed to help you. LegalZoom, since they're not a law firm, they're not allowed to actually help you or change anything if you make a mistake on your form.
Okay.
So that's just, my word of advice on how, like, the logistics of setting up the LLC. Quite simple though. There's 3 legal components to your LLC. It's your articles of organization, which is what gets filed with the state of Illinois, your EIN, which you get from the IRS, and your operating agreement. So you can either get a template or you can draft your own operating agreement, but this will just legitimize your business. You will need to take your articles, EIN, and operating agreement, those 3 documents, you have to take them to the bank, and that's how you open up a business bank account. So that's kind of how you start your LLC. It's not very difficult. It's not as complex or overwhelming as people make it seem. I feel that there are a lot of business owners that use this, I'm just waiting to start my LLC, to stop them from actually starting their business. Yes, there are a list of some legal aspects that you have to do. Setting up your LLC, setting up your bank account, getting your trademarks on file, all of that is, yes, that's great to start with, but that honestly does not take more than, at max, if you use an attorney for everything, a few $1,000s. It doesn't take more than a week, I would say. So anyone who kind of is thinking about it and hasn't done it, it's really just, I think they're using it to procrastinate.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fair. And looking back, whenever I was setting up, I've got several LLCs set up, but before that, I can see where people are like, oh, I don't even know what to do. And you scare yourself into like not starting, because you're like, I don't even know where to go. I'm just gonna wait till next week maybe. But once you do it and realize, and there's so much educational information out there on like you said, the articles of organization and then your operating agreement. there's some things that they sound really, legal, those big words make some people sweat, kind of like I did. But um, it's not that crazy of a process. You can get it done in what, a month or so, from
Less
start to
than that,
finish,
less
even
than that.
less.
Yeah. Less
Yeah.
than that,
Yeah.
like a week. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So people really let it hold them back. And I mean, they let a lot of things hold them back, but that's one thing, people ask me and they make it does sound really overwhelming, but it's actually very, very simple.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
truly, like, if that's truly the one thing that's holding you back, just outsource it. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that expensive that it's a hindrance. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that scary,
Hmm.
but like get started on your business, like get started, making the money.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go back to the trademark, patent stuff. So probably more trademark. Let's say I've started my business, I've got a brand. I bet there's a lot of people that come to you that say, I don't really know how valuable all my stuff is. I don't know if it's worth, paying an attorney or learning more about protecting my branding, my little business name. I don't know if it's important. Tell me some stories maybe of why you should take it seriously when it comes to trade marketing and protecting your business name.
Okay, well, first of all, no one should ever think that their brand or their business isn't worth anything. Because why are you in business if that's how you
Right.
feel about your own business? You should never think so small. That doesn't really work out well for any. I don't know anyone who thinks like that and is successful. So never think that about your business. That's the first thing. But just pragmatically speaking, lots of people have lots of side hustles and things like that. So where you really want to consider trademarking in particular is going to be if you are investing into your brand in any way, shape, or form. This is going to be if you've purchased any sort of expensive domain, if you are running any sort of ads, if you are trying to build your brand in a way that you're trying to get visibility. There are certain businesses that you don't need a brand to make money. If you start an LLC to flip property or to invest in real estate, you are not really dealing with a brand. That has nothing to do with the brand. In fact, you want to be the more anonymous you are, almost the better it is. So that is not a situation where you're really going to need a trademark, for most people. But if you're building a brand, as in you're selling any sort of product or service, and you have to market or run ads or promote it in any way, shape, or form in order to get people to buy your service or your product, then that's where you want to consider trademarking. Because if you do not trademark it, someone else can trademark it and then they can sue you and take all your money. So, and trademark infringement is a, strict liability crime, or sorry, tort. So it's not a crime, but in many ways it's not a crime. So it's just a tort, it's a civil claim, but they can sue you personally. Your LLC does not protect you from
Wow.
those type of claims. So you
Okay.
don't, steal people's name, of course, but even if you unintentionally do it, it doesn't matter. Your intent doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Just the fact that you did it and you're using that name, puts you at risk. So getting your trademark, at minimum, getting your name cleared by an attorney will, give you a little bit of peace of mind. Getting your trademark on file is basically kind of your insurance policy that you won't have to rebrand, and that every dollar that you're investing into promoting your brand is protected. Because if you're just going to invest into all these ads and promoting your brand and all this time, building up your name in your community or, on your website, social media, whatever it is, and then someone else just sees that you have a really good thing going and they go file the trademark from it and stop you from using it, then kind of everything you've done is a waste.
Hmm. Yeah. No, that's what I wanted. The example of, like, someone can go and file, even if you have not, they can kind of take your stuff and use it. That's what business owners should be concerned with, is you've put in all this time, money, blood, sweat, tears into your business, and then now all of a sudden all the stuff is not yours anymore.
Yeah,
So
I will say, as a lawyer, I do not have incentive to actually say that to you, because I make a lot more money when that happens and I get to go and fight it out in court. And,
sure.
now we're talking 30 to 50K that you have to spend because you've
Hmm.
invested 100K or, 2 years in this brand. You can't escape dealing with it. versus, you know, a couple thousand, less than a couple thousand actually, to just get your trademark in the first place. I would not be in business if people were actually just filing their trademarks properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would not be profitable at all.
So you're telling them they can choose whatever they want, but it's cheaper to go ahead and get all the stuff filed correctly. But if you don't, you can still call Anna and pay her a lot more to fight it for you. Is that right?
Yeah, that's basically how it goes.
Well, there you go. Well, good deal. So you mentioned you're probably, as an attorney, not allowed to say this, but you mentioned celebrities even do some trademarking and that type of stuff. Have you worked with any celebrities?
We
And I know
work with
you,
a lot of celebrities and
okay.
influencers. So celebrities and influencers, you know, they're running a business just like anyone else. They've just productized and commoditized themselves.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, you know, whether you are just looking to grow on social media and do brand deals, I mean, anything people do now, everything is a business.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I'm not quite to celebrity or influencer status, but when I get there in 50 years, I will call you and I'll help you if you can help me with the trademarking stuff. But then I haven't had many people reach out to like represent their brand yet, but it's coming. It's coming. Um, the other thing I want to go back to is LinkedIn. So you said that LinkedIn has been a huge thing that helped your business take off. Tell me a little bit about how you use LinkedIn to gain new clients.
yeah, so I actually launched my business or started my business on TikTok
Okay.
because TikTok is really easy to go viral on. Like if you post like 3 times a day for 2 months, you're going to have at least a couple of those videos hit, you know, 10 million plus views. So it's at least if you're that consistent. So TikTok is really easy to grow your business on. But
Cool.
and Instagram, you know, I shifted from TikTok to Instagram, and then I shifted from Instagram to LinkedIn, like as my focus, because, you know, when you think about every minute you spend on marketing, what's your ROI? I don't run ads, so I have to look at it with my time. You
Hmm.
know, LinkedIn just gives me a 10x, maybe 100x ROI versus any other platform. Even
Sure.
though I can get 10 million views on TikTok, you know, the amount of people and the quality of people, you know, are just different. Now, other platforms are great because you can't really just have one platform anymore. You have to do a little bit on everything because otherwise it looks really suspicious and weird.
Hmm.
If, you know, you're only TikTok, you know, you only have followers on TikTok and nowhere else, or you're only posting on Instagram and nowhere else. It just looks odd. But LinkedIn is just really easy because no one else is on there. Um, everyone is watching and lurking. Everyone is watching and lurking, but no one really posts. And so if you post, once a week, you're going to be in the top 1%. I feel like
Hmm.
if you post every day on LinkedIn for like 90 days, you'll never have to worry about money again. And if you
I
don't
love
know
it.
how to post, if you just absolutely cannot figure it out, then, just repost everything else you're doing everywhere else.
I like it. Well, I don't know if people on video can see. I've got your TikTok pulled up right there on
Yeah,
a
that's
log.
my law firm. I have a
Okay.
personal one
You have a
too.
personal one too.
It's
Okay.
the only follower on there.
Okay. There we go. I see. What's your personal?
Ana
Um,
Juneja.
okay. I'll find it on here. But either way, check it
Yeah.
out. You heard it. If you're listening, you can go check it on TikTok. If you saw on a law group, that's her law firm. But that's one question I was going to ask you. Are you the type of content you're posting on LinkedIn or TikTok? Is it like informational or educational stuff, or like what's it geared towards? Is it geared towards a business owner that you're educating them, or is it more salesy?
No, it's not salesy. I'm not a fan of any sales content. I just think that you should say whatever you want to say about yourself, about your business, about things you learn, and just let people get to know you
Hmm.
and what you do and how much you know. And, if you keep doing that, you won't have to sell. Because
Yeah.
people who hire me, oftentimes, if they found me on social media, they tell me they've watched all my videos and things like that. So,
Hmm.
people will if they find value in what you're doing, they'll follow you. And then when their need arises, because it's not every day that somebody needs a trademark or a patent, but then 6 months later, they'll, send something to their brother who's starting a business, or they'll be starting a business, something like that. So it's a long game when you're doing social media, but I'm not a fan of sales content. I think it's crazy. I think it's really weird when people DM and message you to like set up their like, let's collaborate, and you go to their profile and you can't even figure out what they're selling.
Right.
They're just a bunch of gibberish on their profile. It's just really weird. I think it's 2024. Like, you have to have an amazing personal brand online. And if you don't do that, it's a problem. Huge problem.
Yeah. Agreed. So you mentioned you're cross-posting some of your stuff from platforms. Are you doing most of this yourself, or do you have a social media assistant or manager that's helping with that? Or is it
I
all?
have like a 9-person media team now.
Holy cow. Well, there you go.
Yeah, because
Awesome.
we answer every single DM. It's still a huge source of our leads. So we have to treat every DM properly and things like that.
Yeah. So this is a good question here. So when you started on a law, how many employees did you have?
None. And now I
Okay.
have like a decent sized team, like
There
under
you go.
20, but yeah,
And a team of 9 of them doing your social
just
media,
social
correct?
media. Yeah.
So that tells everybody listening how important social media and social media branding is for your
Mhm.
business. So
Yeah.
I I've told people, I think a lot of business owners that your first hire, if you're wanting to grow, should be some type of a marketing or media or social media person, because typically the business owner, whoever that is good at the business. They're good at, if you're a plumber, you're good at plumbing. If you are a roofer, you're good at roofing. If you're good at law, you're good at legal stuff. If you have a specialist that can help tell your story to the world, that's going to help you bring in more business. Then you can help maybe get the service people, the behind the scenes service work that you need help with. But in my opinion, one of your first hires should be someone that helps promote your business, and not just so you can not just work on you promoting, but you can actually run your business and someone else can help you promote. Does that sound like something similar you did?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so I actually tried to outsource it for several years and I couldn't. I actually had to buy a media company and build it myself, build it,
Really?
up. Yeah, because there's many media companies, and maybe lots of people in various industries will feel this way, but there's a lot of media companies that target lawyers. They specialize in lawyers, but
Hmm.
they all suck. They all are terrible. I mean, as in like huge scams. And I think they just target the legal industry because it's still a lucrative industry and
Hmm.
people have money to spend on marketing. But I
Sure.
mean, when there's just zero deliverables or when they mess up my brand, I mean, if I, as a regular non-marketing person, though, trademarks are very much to do with marketing and branding, it's like the highest level of marketing and
Hmm.
branding. But so I'm maybe in a different category than normal people, but still, I'm not someone who's focused day in, day out on marketing. If I can do better than you, that's crazy. If you're dedicating your 40-hour week to dealing with my marketing and you can't even, you're ruining things, you're sending crazy DMs to people, you're not even showing up, like it's actually crazy how bad some of these marketing
Hmm.
companies are. So I had horrific experiences and I just had to start my own. So,
Okay.
people really need to take marketing seriously. It's not something you can just hand off and like let, somebody else do. You really have to, I'm really a big proponent of either building your own team or working with people that are really vetted.
Hmm. Yeah. So you're almost like the Gary V of lawyers, right? So are you familiar with Gary V?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of other bigger lawyers, but I've done it
Okay.
all
Well,
organically. Like, I've never run ads. So
there you
that's
go.
kind of, that's kind of my thing. I think people are really, really reliant on ads these days. They just pay an
Yeah.
agency and they'll run ads. I mean, you can, you're controlled by Google and Zuckerberg then. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
that's your life.
exactly. One of my favorite quotes is, no matter what business you are in today's world, doesn't matter if you're a contractor or a lawyer or a restaurant, on social media and online, you should be a media company that just happens to provide whatever service you provide. So, you should be a media company that just happens to be a restaurant or whatever your business is.
Exactly.
Just so you are constantly connecting with your clients, potential clients, the community, whatever it happens to be. So kudos to you for, I guess, just going out and getting your own media company to make it work for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was forced into it. I would love to just like wash my hands of it, but it's not possible. That's not how business works.
Right. So we're actually getting close on time, but I have a few more questions if that's okay.
Sure.
Are your people in the, like, both at the law office and the media company, are they, a lot of them working remote from home or even overseas or in different countries, or are they all local to your business?
So most people work remote.
Mm-hmm.
I have several team members in the Philippines and in India.
Okay.
So the Philippines team members I have, so Philippines in general, I really like for customer service. My media manager
Yeah.
coordinates all my podcasts, my PR person, they're in Philippines, and I think customer service is one of their greatest skill sets, and they're really
Mm-hmm.
great at social media. They're very American cultured, Western, in terms of westernized cultured.
Mm-hmm.
India is really great for technical skills. So video editing, SEO, all of that. So they really just have superior tech skills there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's great to utilize everybody, has different skill sets and different talents
Yeah.
wherever they are.
Yeah. Awesome. So you're just basically, sorry, I keep asking media questions, and I know this is
No,
more of a,
it's fine.
so you're basically like recording a video, then you'll send it through Dropbox or Google Drive, whatever happens to be, to your team, and they'll cut it up and post it for you. Is kind of the basic idea of it.
Oh yeah, I have a full-time person, and he just scours the internet for like new articles, hot topics, cases
Okay.
in my industry. So he's just a researcher. And then then I have another girl, and she, with ChatGPT and him, like they work together, and they,
Mm-hmm.
they write all my scripts for all
Mm-hmm.
my videos. Then they send me my scripts, and then I record the video, and then it gets sent out. They edit it, they post it everywhere, and it's so much though, because you have to keep track of every piece of content, and
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know how they do it. We have like multiple softwares. We're still refining our system. I think I think that's a good thing someone should develop, like a really good software that keeps track of all the content that we all have to do, because it's like in math.
Yeah. There you go. So listeners out there, if you're wanting to start a business, Anna just gave you an idea, and she'll even trademark it for you. So just go ahead and get it started, y'all. So Anna, we're actually a little bit over time, which is just fine. But before we jump off of here, is there any, I know I quizzed you on the media stuff pretty heavily. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the listeners, just to educate them one last piece, or give them one last tidbit to go off of?
I will say, do not steal other people's intellectual property. Don't take pictures from Google. Don't use other people's brands. Don't even do it if you don't know you're doing it. Unfortunately, you'll still get in trouble.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Anna, you've got a bunch of social media platforms and ways to contact you. Tell our listeners a little bit about where they can find you online.
Sure. You can, I guess, connect with me on LinkedIn, just Ana Juneja, ANA, and my last name is JUNEJA. And then also my website, ANALAW.com. It's easier to remember. Just analaw.com.
Perfect. I love it. Well, for all you loyal listeners out there, make sure you're subscribing to the CIBL podcast on your favorite podcast platform. While you're there, please leave us a review. You can also find us on social media, mainly LinkedIn and Facebook, and you can connect with myself there personally as well. Until next time, Anna, you've officially been civilized. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CIBL Podcast. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It's the civilized thing to do.
What's up, Central Illinois? You know what you all need? You all need some CIBL podcast swag. And thanks to our newest sponsor, Jedco Sales, you can now find our swag at CIBLmerch.com. You can find t-shirts, sweatshirts, polos, hats, and more all classically adorned with our famous CIBL podcast logo. If you want to represent and support your favorite podcast, check out CIBLmerch.com. That's CIBLmerch.com. If you like our store, you can also build your very own business swag store with the help of Jedco Sales in Effingham, Illinois. Jedco is owned by previous CIBL guests, Andrew and Laren Dial. They've set up a special discount offer for CIBL guests and listeners to set up your very own custom branded swag store. You can now offer branded apparel to your employees, customers, and fans, and Jedco will fulfill all the orders for you. Contact Jedco at sales@jedcosales.com. That's sales@JEDCO sales.com, and tell them that Garrett and Derek sent you. Let Jedco help you get noticed.